welcome back to Questions Over Coffee. My name's Kevin Smith. Good to see you again. Want a cup of coffee? Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that's coming up on Questions Over Coffee. If you have a comment or a question, leave in the section below. We'll get to it just as fast as we can. Today's question comes from Jonathan Andrews. Jonathan writes, okay, this subject reminded me of something else. Feel free to just smack me if this is too much of a tangent. How do you feel about quote-unquote baptism for the dead that Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 15:29? What are your insights on this? Not pulling any punches today, are we, Jonathan? I will tell you that this is one of those topics that leave people scratching their heads. Gallons of ink have been spilled over it, and we are not anywhere close to a good answer on what exactly is going down when Paul refers to this. Let's take a look at the passage, the verse that you mentioned, and then I'll give you a couple of things to think about, but really the answer is I got nothing for the most part. But let's go ahead and read the passage. Otherwise, what will those do who are baptized for the dead? If the dead are not raised at all, why then are they baptized for them? Okay, like we said, we don't really have enough evidence to know exactly what's going on. It's one of those things that Paul is addressing something very specific we don't have the background for. But here's the issue here. The problem child in this particular verse is, as with many languages, the preposition for. Here in the Greek, it is huper. Now, huper can be a couple of different things. Let me go ahead and give you the definitions, and we'll talk briefly about them. Huper can be defined as for, in behalf of, for the sake of someone or something. It is a marker that indicates an activity or an event is in some entity's interest. Okay, so it could be that grandma, let's say, was a Christian. She's been trying to get the kids to understand the message, and they're fighting her. They don't really think baptism is necessary, let's say. But they do believe that Jesus is God's son, but there's just a little too much pressure to move forward. Grandma dies. Well, the kids say, Grandma really wanted us to do this. We do believe that Jesus is God's son. We do want to be his disciple and serve him. We want to see Grandma again, and Grandma certainly wants to see us again. So one option is they are immersed because that's what their deceased loved one wanted. So that's one option. Now, like we said, prepositions are very tough. So here's another possible definition for huper. Because of, for the sake of, for. It is a marker of the moving cause or reason. In this regard, it would be something, let's take the grandma example again. It would be something in, I want to see Grandma again. And Grandma was a Christian. And I need to become a Christian. I become a Christian through the waters of baptism. So let's go. They're being baptized for the sake of their deceased loved one. one thing we do know is that it is not a so-and-so died without knowing Jesus, without being immersed. So I will be immersed for them, and they will then receive the benefit of the immersion, and their soul will be saved. That just does not work with what we see in Scripture. Let's consider Luke chapter 16 and a portion of the rich man and Lazarus as an example of this. Let's read together from Luke 16. We're going to begin in verse 23 and read through verse 26. In Hades he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, so that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool off my tongue, for I am in agony in this flame. But Abraham said, Child, remember that during your life you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus bad things. But now he is being comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us and you there is a great chasm fixed, so that those who wish to come over from here to you will not be able, and that none may cross over from there to us. So Jesus is telling this story, this parable, about two guys that died. And once they're dead, their position is set. They can't change. You know, Lazarus can't go over to the side of torment where the rich man is and help him at all. The rich man can't do anything to come over to the side of paradise and escape the flames. So we know that baptism for the dead was not so that a dead person might have their soul saved. But what exactly does it mean? I hope those options help, but quite frankly, Jonathan, we don't have enough information on what was going on in Corinth to actually and correctly answer this question. So I have a question for you. What do you do when you don't have enough background information in Scripture or cultural information in Scripture to fully understand what God is meaning for us to understand? Leave me a comment in the section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that's coming up on Questions Over Coffee. Thank you for our time together today. I look forward to the next time. Keep pressing forward.